did you guys hear about that YouTuber? She was a YouTuber for 4 years, and she was a mum YouTuber who was like, she got like YouTube famous for being like a strict mum and stuff. Ruby Frank. And basically, yeah, so her YouTube channel's been cancelled now. It's been like completely closed down. But yeah, she basically would like deny her children like food as punishment. Like if they didn't do something in time, or something, you didn't get pudding, you didn't get food, like dinner or whatever, and stuff like that. And yeah, so she was basically this really strict mum. Oh my god, it's literally insane. But that's the stuff that she aired on YouTube. She got arrested, right? So yeah, for some, Frank's arrest was no surprise, given the hundreds of videos over the number of years that sparked criticism of her strict parenting style. She was behind the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, which launched in 2015 during a boom in popularity for an array of family vlogging videos, a genre in their own right, that they were making money on the platform. A year later, her videos had gained tens of thousands of views. She told local news at the time that filming herself with the family helped her live in the present and just enjoy her kids. The videos she edited were the life into her window, showing a typical Mormon suburban family homeschooling, cooking, eating and chatting away together. But some moments raised eyebrows. In one video, she could be seen telling her sons that they would lose the privilege to eat dinner if they continued play fighting. In another, she said that her 6-year-old needed to go hungry after forgetting to take her lunch to school. That is like, yeah, like that's actually crazy. So basically, the kid forgot to take her lunch to school, and I believe the school phoned her. Also, it says she hasn't got any lunch with her. She was like, well, then they just have to go without. Like, no. And then that kid had to wait till dinner to eat or something like that. I read all about this. I can't believe I'd ever talk about it before, but I read all about this when this first like came out. And obviously now she's like been sentenced and stuff. Hey, Whirly, how you doing? But yeah, so like, but she basically, it was to teach the kid responsibility of remembering the food. So well, it was their fault for forgetting the food. 6-year-old, by the way. My 8-year-olds still forget to take their lunch if I don't say put your lunch in your bag. She said, hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her lunch, because then she's not going to learn, she told the camera. They had been trying to teach their children to live responsibly as masters of themselves. Her now estranged husband, Kevin Frank, later said of the incident. Despite the criticism, the Franks, oh my god, I can't read that word, authoritarian parenting approach continued, and the audience kept building. Experts believe her success reflects a modern anxiety among parents that can lead them to seek out radical and harmful solutions. For parents who feel lost and desperate, particularly when it's dealing with problematic behaviours, extreme techniques become appealing, particularly if they see results. Beanbag sleeping, an off-the-cuff comment made by Frank's teenage son, brought her parenting style to attention of more mainstream audiences outside of the family vlogging sphere. In a 2020 video, he revealed that his bedroom had been taken away for 7 months. Bedroom taken away for 7 months. And he was instead sleeping on a beanbag after playing pranks on his sibling. According to Frank, in the same video, her son had shown he was unable to manage a bedroom and was offered alternatives such as a guest bed or inflatable mattress. The tone of the discussion was light, while the story drawing giggles from Frank and her other child, but many viewers were disturbed by the incident. A petition started by demanding an investigation brought in thousands of signatures, and child protective services were called. The outrage led to YouTube and TikTok users making their own videos about the family, gaining millions of views. Older clips, such as those showing Frank describing withholding meals as a disciplinary measure, resurfaced and made headlines. Like, the thing is, with this disciplinary doodah, I can kind of understand the almost logic of it. Do you remember back in, like, I mean, we don't remember, but back in the 80s, and blah, blah, blah. It would be a case of if you didn't behave, you went to bed without supper. But there's a reason that those punishments went out of style and we don't do them anymore, just like spanking. We don't spank children anymore, only like it's bad to inflict pain on a child. It's bad to withhold food. It's why we don't do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I get the base logic of it, but it's like, it's not a thing that like needs to be in play anymore. In response to the controversy, Ruby and Kevin Frank told. Also, as we go through this, I'm so confused by the father. So the mum was arrested and has been sentenced. The accomplice has been arrested and sentenced. But the father, not one bad word I have found anywhere on the internet about him. He was literally there. Like, they're strange now, but he left in like 2022 or 21. I'm sure it's saying this article somewhere. And so he was there when the food was being withheld. Literally in this bit here, where was it? Literally, the father said the incident was to teach them how to live responsibly as masters of themselves. Why has he not been punished? The kids don't seem mad at him, even if he didn't do the bad stuff, which will come up in a minute. Even if he didn't do the bad stuff, why is he still not being held accountable for the fact that even if he didn't inflict the pain, because there's like hurt and poorlies and stuff that comes up in a minute, even if he didn't inflict the pain, surely he should still be charged with neglect by watching the children be abused. Do you know what I mean? Why is he not being held accountable? Like, he's just as much of a monster as she is. And if he's not, why is no one talking about it? Like, I can't be the only person in the whole world who's asking what the dad's role in it was, but no one's talking about it. And it's like, if he genuinely, let's say that, I know, he was fighting tooth and nail with the mum to stop it from happening, blah, 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 which obviously he wasn't because he was in the videos, by the way. But let's just pretend that he was. Then why is nobody saying that? Why is every article not mentioning the dad didn't blah, 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 blah? Like, I just don't understand how the dad isn't even mentioned in any of it. It's actually kind of crazy. I find it so bizarre. Like, it's like sexist in the most extreme opposite way. What, the dad's not held accountable for the responsibility of the child because it's the mum's job? I don't know. It's actually insane. In theory, he needs to be charged for at least neglect. Other charges depend on evidence. Exactly. The dad is there. Yeah. Like, it's not just like him saying, oh, woman, please give him food or whatever. Like, they're actually hurt. Petition was done. 1,000 signatures. Child Protective Services were called. In response to the controversy, Ruby and Frank told the news website Insider some accounts had malicious intentions and purposely took the clips out of context. They were purely seeking to throw hate. That was their only objective. A reasonable person would not have seen that video and thought she's a child abuser. Ruby Frank told the site. Bear in mind, she's been arrested and sentenced now. He is a good person. Randy Kester told Good Morning America, claiming that the Franks have been living in separate homes for the past 13 months. Kevin Frank later filed for divorce from his wife and asked for the maximum sentence to be imposed on her, calling the abuse suffered by his children horrific and inhumane. Well, why didn't he stop it then? Like, what? He literally says the abuse was horrific and inhumane. Why didn't he stop it then? The controversy effectively marked the beginning of the end of the 8 Passages YouTube channel. Daily videos were whittled down to 2 or 3 videos per week, then none at all before it was deleted. But Frank remained active on social media, forming a new advice channel in June 2022 called Connections with Hildebrand, her business partner and counsellor. The content they made together had a small fraction of audience that 8 Passages had in its prime. Frank once claimed that the venture helped her make millions. She left that lucrative world, she said, to save her children. Recent post on Instagram account that the two share, called Mums of Truth, offer parenting advice, urging followers to avoid coping strategies to distract from the pain and discomfort of reality and truth. It's not clear what this reality or truth looks like, but coping strategies they list include social media, exercise, and socializing. Parents, don't socialize or exercise. Right, so then I'm going to scroll to the top now and read the top part, because I didn't want to read that first before you knew the story of them, because otherwise you'd be like, well, Carl, like, why do we care about this? Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's being coerced into not saying anything sooner. But, like, why is nobody questioning it? Do you know what I mean? Even if, let's say she abused him or something. I'm not saying she did, and there's been no evidence that she has, but let's say she abused him and it kept him quiet. Why is nobody asking the questions or mentioning about the dad? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why? I don't understand how it's not even been mentioned in the news. It has been proven that he couldn't do anything. It has been proven that he wasn't there, or that she covered up the bruises or whatever. Like, no one's even mentioning it, which I find really, really bizarre. Because if she's that psycho to a child, I can imagine the guy might be scared. Well, that's not good enough. That's like, That's not good enough at all, is it? Like, he's a good guy. Well, he's not if he lets his child be abused. Like, I don't care what... Like, no, that's unacceptable. He's like... It's not like she can overpower him. If he was like some meek little tiny person and then she was this big huge hedge bodybuilder woman, then it'd be like, okay, she can like sit on him and he's like, well, I ain't going nowhere, am I? Do you know what I mean? But he's a man who could have taken his children or kicked his wife out or whatever. Instead, he made YouTube videos with her and like spoke about the positive benefits this abuse had on the children. She might be able to overpower one swift nut shot and he's like, well, they don't have kids. Don't have kids. Like, do you know what I mean? Don't have children. If you're so scared of getting your nuts kicked, and that values more than having kids, don't have kids. All she has to do is punch herself in the face and call the police. But they had a YouTube channel to like prove. Like, to prove that she was abusing the children. If he genuinely didn't agree with it, they literally had a YouTube channel to say, this is what she's doing. He participated in them and encouraged other people that what they were doing was good. Do you know what I mean? And anyway, let's just say, for argument's sake, that all of what you're saying is true. And that he was abused behind the background, that she was a psycho, and she locked him in the bedroom, or some weird stuff, I don't know. Let's just say, for example, that is true. Why is that not being said? How is, like... every other aspect of this case and everything been spoken about? We know all about the sentencing. We know all about the abuse. We know about her partner, business partner. Why is nobody explaining why the father had nothing done to it? Bias in the articles. But I'm not talking one article. I'm talking every article. Like, no matter where I searched. Boyan and I, like, we searched because we're so baffled. But the fact that all you ever see about the dude is he was a nice guy. This one quote. Like, the mum's a monster, clearly. The business partner's a monster, clearly. But, like, why is no one mentioning the dad? So, a woman sprung to fame, given controversial parenting advice, has been sentenced for at least 4 years in prison for child abuse. What happened to Ruby Frank and her family? Basically, right, she's been sentenced for 4 consecutive... Like 4 individual charges of 4 to 30 years, right? I think it's 4 to 30. It could be 4 to 20. We'll find out as we go down. But because they live in Utah, Utah laws stop you from doing more than a certain amount of consecutive sentences in a row. So even though she's been sentenced to what could be like... doesn't say anywhere on this one. Let's say 60 years. Because they are from 4 different sentences, 2020, it must have been more than 60. I don't know. Let's say 80 to make it a nice number. 20, 20, 20, and 20. They can't serve, they're not allowed to serve all 4 of those 20s in a row or something like that. Hopefully we'll say in this article. If not, we'll find out. But basically, she won't even get the maximum sentencing because of it. So on late August morning in Utah, a 12-year-old boy covered in open wounds knocked on the door of a neighbor's house asking for food and water. He had escaped a nearby home moments before by climbing out of a window and running away with duct tape still on his ankles. He was duct taped and had wounds, open wounds. 12 years old. 12 years old. 12 freaking years old. 4 years older than my twins. 12 years old. The boy was taken to hospital suffering from malnourishment and deep lacerations from being tied up with rope, according to the arrest record. In total, 4 children were taken into care and Frank, a parenting influencer and mother of 6, was arrested. On Tuesday, 42-year-old Frank tearfully apologised in court as she learned her sentence, saying, "I was so disorientated that I believed dark was light and right was wrong." She previously pleaded guilty to starving and abusing her children. She appeared along her former business partner Jody Hildebrandt, 54, who 15 years, who received the same sentence. Each woman was jailed for 4 terms of 1 to 15 years each. Had it come to this, a woman who imparted parenting advice, it says here that Utah's sentences are capped at 30. So even though technically they could get 4 terms of 15 years, which would make 60 years. They would only ever serve the maximum of 30 because of the way that the Utah law works, which is flipping stupid. Like, she should die behind bars. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally. That's why I heard she was going to jail for 30 years. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, because Utah law caps it. It's like, if you commit 4 crimes that need you to go to prison for 15 years each, you should go to prison for 15 years each. Do you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, but we feel sorry for you because you've been in there the whole time. No! Don't abuse your children, you psycho! Let's see what it says. On the 30th of August, 2 women were arrested after Frank's malnourished son had escaped. Days later, they were charged with 6 counts of child abuse. Justice is being served. Her eldest daughter wrote on Instagram claiming that she was trying to raise concerns about her estranged family with police and child protection services for years. So the eldest daughter, I think she was away at college or something. She literally said she's been trying to get the police and child protection services involved for years. And it's like nobody was listening to them. And then it wasn't until the child escaped whilst being duct taped with wounds that it was finally noticed. I know. It's actually crazy. Not even sure why that law exists in Utah. It's stupid, isn't it? It doesn't even make any logical sense. Like, I don't understand the logic of it. And if she gets, because it's, I wonder if they've given the actual sentencing number now, because you know how they were saying 1 to 15 years, then the case goes to like another sentencing party, and then this sentencing party determines exactly how many years they're going to do per thingy. So it could be anywhere in between. So imagine if they only get 4 years. Imagine if they just get the minimum sentence. What the hell? Like, how insane is that? Frank's arrest needed to happen, her sisters wrote in a joint statement saying that they had previously kept quiet. Look, even the aunts of the children kept quiet for the sake of the children involved. How the fudge does that help the children? Like, what is wrong with these people? Like, what is wrong with these people? I don't understand. But yeah, like, imagine not saying anything, like, for the children's benefit. Like, that's insane to me. Like, actually crazy. Neither Frank nor Hildebrand responded to BBC requests for comment after they were charged. The law firm representing Frank told the BBC that they would not make a statement. Frank's children are now safe, according to the sisters and his estranged daughter, who said they have a long road to recovery. But yeah, like, it's actually insane. And then, like, we have one of our favourite YouTubers. He did, a segment on it, so we're going to watch his video because I haven't seen his video yet, and he covered it. So which is Penguins/Moist Critical.
About 5 months ago, I covered the story of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel and all of the evils that were going on behind the scenes. 8 Passengers was a YouTube channel that had over 2 million subscribers. It was a popular family channel that showcased a strict style of parenting. That's what it became known for. But the word strict doesn't really cover it. That's a huge understatement. It was really alarming to a lot of viewers because they were treating their family like they were in the Marine Corps. Like, they ruled their family with an iron fist. And it eventually came out that the children in these videos were being abused. And 5 months ago, the story broke. One of the children freed themselves, escaped the house, contacted the authorities, and after an investigation, found some horrific shit was going on with this family. Mainly, the mother, Ruby Frank, abusing her children. Ruby Frank also had an accomplice named Jody Hildebrandt.
I wonder if he'll mention the dad.
Put these children through unspeakable evils.
Yes,
and today I have an update to share with all of you because they have been sentenced. Ruby Frank was apparently sobbing at the sentencing and blamed the child abuse on being deceived into thinking the world was evil. I don't understand that thought process at all. She was deceived into thinking the world was an evil place. Thus, she had to be evil herself. You're the evil, Ruby. You are the one who knocks. The fuck you talking about? She had the gall to try and paint herself as a victim almost, making claims that she was manipulated and like morally confused and it ended up with her turning into this child abuser. It's ridiculous. But luckily the crocodile tears from this brain-dead strategy didn't do much.
There you go. Neither woman will serve more than 30 years in prison as Utah law prohibits consecutive sentences exceeding that. bunch of crap. They need to change that.
She was sentenced to 4 to 60 years in prison. She pled guilty, along with her associate, to abusing 2 of Frank's children. However, neither woman will serve more than 30 years in prison because of a Utah law that prohibits consecutive sentences exceeding that. Moments before, a Utah District Court judge sentenced Frank to consecutively serve 1 to 15 years behind bars for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Frank tearfully told the court she never meant to harm the children. Which makes absolutely no sense. She obviously knew what she was doing was harming the children, because she would deprive them of food, water, a place to sleep, and the children were even beaten, among other horrible things. All things that can't necessarily be confused with just building character or something like that. Can't possibly be just written off as strict parenting. This isn't one of those situations where you'll see people come out of the woodwork to defend it. They were just spanking their kids. It helps discipline them. Put some hair on their chest. I remember when Peepaw took me out back and made me gargle a glass of motor oil and nails in order to turn into a man, and look how I turned out. It's nothing like that. She would
oil and nails.
She would beat her kids and left them in states of malnourishment. It's so heinous what Ruby and Jody inflicted upon these children. And that Utah law that prohibits them from serving that full, potentially 60-year sentence really sucks here, because they deserve life in jail for what they've done here. The reason why there's a huge range of 4 to 60 years is because there's still one more step where another board is going to ultimately decide how much time they should spend there. And if the board members are watching, it better be the maximum. Anything shy of the maximum is an affront to justice. Heavens to Betsy, I tell you, if they end up only serving 4 years for these actions.
Can you imagine if she serves 4 years? Like, can you just imagine? She was nothing short of a monster. She deserves a life sentence based on each child. Yeah, literally. Like, these are your babies. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I know it's a sensitive subject for some people, but like these are your babies. Like, they are so. How can you even hurt a child? Like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand how it can even be up for question how long she should get. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she was supposed to be the safest person in the world for them, and she deliberately caused them pain. Think how much it hurts when you stub a toe, or when you are like cutting an apple and you catch your hand or something, or you're grating cheese and you catch it. Think how much tiny little nicks like that hurt. They're like the most standard normal thing that happens. A freaking paper cut. I can't even imagine doing something that could cause my kids to hurt in the way that a toe gets stubbed. And these people were causing actual real pain to a child. Like, a child. Oh my God. It reminds me of this book that I read once that I wish I had never read. Did you ever hear about The Child Called It? And it was basically, it was not far off this kind of thing, but I mean, I think she was a lot more extreme than this, which you can imagine how bad that meant it was. But yeah, like this woman, she like had 3 children, and she decided she hated one child, and she would literally like force them to be sick. Like if they ate food when they weren't allowed, she forced them to be sick and then made them eat it again and stuff. She locked them in the basement, I think, and like she was horrible. She was so horrible. She was horrible. But this reminds me of that. And when I read that, I remember thinking, how could somebody inflict pain on a baby and a child and like a young person like that? And then you got these people, and they dare to go on YouTube and make videos to say that other people should be disciplining children, and like this is how strict you should be, and blah blah blah. And behind the scenes, she's actually causing pain, like actual pain. Like, do you know what I mean? No, fuck that. No, it's unacceptable. Obviously. Oh my God. Sorry.
I'm gonna have a conniption.
Yeah, me too.
You would be enabling monsters to get away with it. And that is an unforgivable sin on your part. You would be condemning yourself to hell for that. You'd be dining down there with Lucifer in the afterlife if you let them get away with this and only get 4 years of prison time. So the Business Insider article dives a bit more into Frank's behavior during this. So she was saying that she was deceived and had a distorted version of reality that went largely unchecked. She then just starts blabbering to try and prove that she had a distorted view of reality, saying, "I was led to believe that this world was an evil place filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brain...
We will make it to the video. Even if you think that the world is... Hang on, where is she? Even if you think the world is an evil place filled with cops who control, hospitals that enjoy, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abuse. Like, even if you believed all of this first stuff, what the hell has that got to do with hurting your babies? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's got nothing to do with it. Like, that's like the...
brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abuse. Let me pause real quick. Ruby, if this was your view of the world, why wouldn't you want to rise above that and be the exact opposite of that perspective? So you're viewing the world through your stupid glasses. Whatever. You got your fucking moron dunce hat on. Whatever. Why wouldn't you want to be the exception? Why wouldn't you want to be the one that's loving and nurturing their children? Why wouldn't you want to be the one that's not evil in this evil world you believe you live in? That doesn't make any sense. You are just yapping about fucking nothing. This is a nothing burger of a statement. It is once again just her trying to paint herself as almost some kind of victim of deceit. Now, I don't know if this next part is her just putting on a facade, faking self-awareness, or if she really does finally understand that she is the big bad here, and that it is all her fault, but she says that it was her choice to believe and behave this paranoia. It culminated in a criminal activity, and she stands ready to take accountability, and then says at the end, I can see now over the past 4 years I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would never have led you to darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. To me, this feels like hollow words, because the only thing she ever did in the world for her children was keep them in a state of malnourishment, fear, and misery.
And pain!
I really get the impression that Ruby is a manipulator. I think what she's trying to do here is put on this act of remorse. I really get the impression, through learning what I have about this case now,
and don't forget the
Ruby would do
Hildebrand
anything
partner as
to
well.
keep herself out of trouble. But I think deep down she isn't really remorseful of her actions. I don't think she existed in this year-long disoriented state that led her to abusing her kids for this long period of time. She was so proud of the way that she handled her family, she would post about it frequently on YouTube and defend it as like a strict parenting style. So I really think she's not remorseful and just desperately trying to save her own ass. Also, the next thing she said about her willingness to sacrifice all for her children being masterfully manipulated into something very ugly, once again reads to me as her trying to pass the blame. Now, throughout a lot of this, it seems that Ruby is trying very hard to play like the deceived victim here, and Jody kind of being like the puppet master behind it. Jody was the one that was really kind of isolating Frank, keeping her away from her husband and all of these other things, and making sure that her morality was constantly confused. So it really just seems like Frank's strategy was to push a lot of that onto Jody, where she was the Frankenstein who made Ruby into a monster.
I didn't know.
Allegedly,
Ruby
had been made to believe that Hildebrand had insight to offer a path to continual improvement, and eventually it twisted into something heinous, which resulted in all of the abuse. Frank's lawyer even outright said that she was manipulated by Hildebrand, saying that Hildebrand systematically isolated her from extended family, older children, and her husband, and gave her a distorted sense of morality, even though, like I said, Ruby Frank is a child abuser who I also believe to be a manipulator as well. So Jody also is evil, let's not forget. So speaking of Jody, she received the same prison sentence as Ruby. Jody will be facing 4 to 60 years in prison as well. Again, that's up to the board to decide exactly how long, and I'm hoping they make the right decision and give her and Ruby the maximum amount of time in prison. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the 8 passengers abuse case, there's going to be a quick summary that I'll go through here. So in August, one of the children, the 12-year-old son, climbed through a window from Hildebrand's house to get help for himself and his 10-year-old sister, which prompted a neighbor to call the police. And at the time, the police described the child as emaciated and injured with duct tape around his ankles and wrists. The prosecutor said Miss Frank and her business partner held 2 children ages 9 and 11 turning 12 in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. The children were beaten, bound, forced to do manual labor in the sweltering heat, and emotionally abused. Both children had extensive physical...
Just taking a second. Like, I can't, like... Did he say 9, 9 and 11? Like, My twins turn 9 this year. Like, how... Like, how? Okay, and we're going.
Injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found, and the injuries from the bindings to the 12-year-old were particularly awful. There's more information about some of the abuse that she would inflict upon her children. She kicked her son, held his head underwater, covering his nose and mouth so he couldn't breathe. All kinds of horrible things that I don't think I need to keep going into detail on.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. Yeah,
Ruby
we're good.
and Jody are monsters. Plain and simple. Now I want to briefly discuss the husband, Kevin. So,
oh my god! Somebody mentioned the husband! Oh, no! Let's go.
Jody had urged them to separate. She kept Ruby isolated from him. In order to save their marriage, Jody suggested that they separate, so Kevin eventually moved out and stopped communicating with his family.
I'm sure the husband claimed he had no idea. Yeah, basically, he was in some of the videos, if I'm not mistaken, because he made sort of like comments about the reason they denied food if they when they forgot their lunch at school or whatever. It was because they were trying to teach them to be more resourceful and masters of themselves. That was what the dad said. So the dad was definitely involved in the strict parenting. As far as the abuse, I am yet to find out what any of do you know what I mean, what is to do with that. But yeah, so he was definitely there and involved in the normal parts.
Jody suggested that they separate, so Kevin eventually moved out and stopped communicating with his family at Jody's direction. Now,
stop communicating with his family? Do you think that means kids as well? Why would he leaving the kids with, even if she wasn't a monster by that point, punching and kicking and stuff, you know your wife, do you know what I mean? If Boyan was, rude to my kids, I wouldn't leave them alone with him. I wouldn't just leave and have him be the permanent parent, do you know what I mean? I would take actions about it. Oh, please don't let that be what he means.
Social workers and police were called to the family home multiple times in recent years, but there are no formal accusations. Kevin has made statements through his lawyer, Randy Kester, and has stated, the treatment these children received at the hands of those whom the children had a right to trust was horrific and inhumane.
Hold on. He didn't read this bit. I just want to see what this says. Frank's husband, Kevin, who was in the courtroom for Tuesday's sentencing and seen crying, has kept quiet through the previous court hearings, but has made several statements through his lawyer, Randy. Kester released a statement on Monday to Law and Crime Network. He said that they trusted the judge to sentence both women. Okay, of course, nothing helpful there.
Both physically and psychologically. Kevin remains focused on the rehabilitation of these sweet and vulnerable children so that they might return to a normal life as soon as possible. So it sounds like he had no idea what was happening there due to being separated from the family like that. When I initially covered this story, I didn't know that he was away from the rest of the family and completely ceased communication altogether, so I guess that would explain how he'd be in the dark. But if I'm being honest, I'm extremely surprised that he wouldn't see his children a single time throughout this long period of abuse.
Oh, I think I love him.
If he saw them one time, he would immediately know what's going on.
Exactly!
The neighbor, the authorities, they were able to immediately see something was wrong. They were in a malnourished, emaciated state. There was, the bruises, so much that you would immediately see, and you can't be oblivious to. It would be impossible to be oblivious to. You can't ignore it. You would know. I'm not trying to accuse him of anything here. I'm just saying it's a little weird that he wouldn't see these children throughout this long period of the abuse they endured. I understand Jody told them to separate and to stop talking, but I can't imagine someone just willingly doing that without checking in. Okay.
I think he didn't have a choice. Don't know what happens behind a closed door. Yeah, but if he talks like he loves his children, so I'm not denying that he loves his children. Let's say that he does. I don't think he loves them like he should do, but let's say he loves his children. He talks like he should and protected the children and these sweet children, blah 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 blah. But then that if you know that the woman or one of the parents is not good to the kids, Like, you wouldn't just leave and then not see them for like a year or whatever, knowing that she might be mean and whatnot. If he loved his children that much, why wasn't he fighting tooth and nail for visitation or custody? And if he was, that would have been in these articles. Like, it hasn't been said anywhere that he tried to, that she withheld visitation from him, that she kept the kids away from him, that Jodie intervened and he was fighting to see them but he couldn't. That hasn't been said anywhere. So if that was the case, that surely that would have been said. And it's like, so why would he leave and not see his children for a year? Obviously, let's just pretend that he wasn't aware of the abuse. I think he was. But let's just say he wasn't aware of the abuse. Why did he not try to see his children for a year? And then he swoops in now that he realises, shit, bad stuff's happened. Oh, I will play the doting father who loves his children so dearly. Well, where the fuck were you when they needed you? Like, he doesn't deserve to have those children if he genuinely left the kids with somebody who was a bit cuckoo, even if you didn't know how cuckoo she completely was, and didn't bother trying to see them for a year. That makes him an official deadbeat dad. Do you know what I mean? And it makes me think that if all of this hadn't come out and she hadn't been abusing, would he have even bothered getting back in touch? If this hadn't hit the news and whatnot, would he even bothered after a year to try and see his children? Because he obviously didn't try. Because I just believe that if he did, that would be included somewhere. The fact that nobody knows why he was mysteriously not there, other than the fact they split, that's just like not substantial enough. Like, that's no longer behind closed doors when they were together and maybe she was being a psycho, although he partook in it because he was in the videos. But like, that's not when she was doing the full abuse. So that's not behind closed doors anymore. He's on the other side of the door now. And why was he not kicking it down to see his children? He had what? How many children were there? Was it 4, 5, 6? I don't know, something like that, wasn't it? It's like, why would, like, they were as young as 9 years old. I don't know how old the youngest was, but we know there was at least a 9-year-old. And it's like, well, where were you? Do you know what I mean? Like, where were you? I don't care if I know somebody who, so obviously I'll really vague it up. I know somebody who endured a psycho partner for a long time. It was bad on the kids. It was bad on the partner. It was all bad. And then one day the partner was like, fuck this, and got up and left. Do you know what that partner did? They took the kids. Like, and I can tell you right now that if they hadn't been able to take the kids, they damn well would have made sure that they would have been fighting to get the kids. So it's kind of like, where are the reports saying that he was trying? I just find that really bizarre. It seems to me like, because he wasn't in the house at the abuse time, he's kind of skating on responsibility for it and kind of claiming innocence of ignorance. So it's like, well, like, even if he didn't partake in it, somebody should be holding him accountable to being a deadbeat dad who left his children. You know? And if that were the other way around, and a woman left a man looking after the children, and the man then abused the children, the woman would be shamed so badly for not being nurturing and swooping and trying to fight to get her children back. How dare the man take the children? But for some reason, because men are allowed to walk out on their kids, he's like pardoned from any responsibility on it. And it's like, I don't think so. Even if he didn't participate in it, he should still be being shamed for not going to be there for his children, which could have prevented months of abuse for them. Obviously, she's like the absolute monster who just be like smited down lightning, like immediately. But yeah, it just bugs me. It really bugs me. In case you can't tell.
Especially because they're still together. Those are still his children too.
I'm so glad he said that.
But anyway, I am happy to see that Ruby and Jodie will be facing prison time for this. Hopefully, a lot of prison time for this, because it is heinous. What they've done is unforgivable. And I think even 30 years, if they get the maximum sentence, is a light sentence for this shit.
Yeah, so do I.
This is awful stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to give you an update to this story. That's really about it. So yeah.
But yeah, I just find it absolutely mind-boggling that the father hasn't been held accountable in any kind of way. But at least the women are going to prison. And where the fudge did this Jodie person come from? So she just popped up into the life of this other woman and children, and she's just kind of like, yeah, let me help abuse your children. Like, Oh my god, it's so messed up. It's so messed up. Like, I can't help but look it up. I kind of follow the story because obviously it just is like awful. I just can't help but look at it. But then I get mad every time I do. And then I think to myself, why did I do that to myself? Because obviously these kind of things, they hit home. And I'm just kind of like, oh my god, why? Why would they do that to themselves? Ugh. Anyway, crazy, right? God, I hope they get like the maximum sentence they can.